business needs a podcast. In this video today, you'll discover the 3 big reasons why. My name is Ben Fanning. I've been podcasting for years. We have a top 2% podcast called Lead the Team. And we've been also helping organizations start their business podcasts in a very profitable way to support their overall business results. So let's dive in. I'm going to present to you a few slides today to help explain these 3 compelling reasons. All right, here we go. So 3 ways your company benefits from a podcast. You can use the QR code here to learn also about the Lead the Team podcast. I don't believe in presenting just theory. We actually do it each and every day on Lead the Team. And again, as I mentioned, we also support organizations in launching and producing and getting business results from their podcast. So reason number 1, why you need one, is to attract and retain your high-performing employees. Note, I'm not saying to get sponsorships. I'm not saying just to produce interesting content. No, to attract and retain your top performers. And if you're not doing this, your competition will. Here's an example. CIO, Chief Information Officer, creates recruiting and retention machine. These are results from one episode from a large organization here. You can see in the lower left-hand side, over 42,000 views of this. And look at the leadership message. Why leaders should have honest conversations. When employees and potential employees and other leaders, your peers in your organization, when they see topics like this and they see your leaders leveraging it, these are leaders that they want to work for. That's right. They want to see their leaders communicating a powerful message. And we can see here from the analytics, see current and potential hires. This is the CIO. We can see that they're getting in front of, in just one podcast episode, of over 500 software engineers and over 500 project managers. These are the ideal people that you want to be in front of. And you can also see how you're impacting people that are your suppliers and that are your customers and other organizations, over 1,300 top executives. Reason number 2, increase sales and save thousands of dollars. So it's not just from an employee retention and attraction standpoint, it actually impacts the bottom line and create a profit center with a high return on investment. Okay. And doing a podcast is more effective than most job ads, marketing dollars, and social media dollars. If you add up all these things, job ads, marketing, social media, that your company are using, really, these are becoming outdated methods because they're so expensive and their effectiveness is dropping tremendously. And I'll give you an example here. Here's a chief human resource officer from our show. CHRO attracts and retains in first quarter at company. So she just started at the company, came on our show, look at the impact and her helping her achieve her business objectives. Over 11,000 impressions here of her podcast. And you can see she's getting in front of her ideal employees. Her company happens to be a technology company. Project managers, software engineers, all getting visibility on these. And you can look at the fact that the companies that she's looking to be in front of, including her own, are all getting visibility through this. So you can see here, yes, you can spend money on social media feeds. You can spend money, very expensive dollars for job ads, which are not cheap and highly competitive. And ask yourself, when's the last time that you actually clicked on a job ad on, say, LinkedIn or on Facebook? I mean, think about this for a second. Probably rarely to never, or at least not in recent memory. You can see here the visibility of this from a podcast is so powerful. And don't forget, this is something that you can use time and time again. Podcasting is producing legacy content. Now, idea number 3 here, which is another benefit for you, is to make your job easier. Your employees and your suppliers and even your customers really aren't reading their email. Why? Because they get so much of it. Research from McKinsey shows that leaders and their employees are getting over 121 emails per day. That's a lot of emails to get through. Even if they open up your email, they're just going to scan it quickly and not spend much time on it. I mean, think about it. think about your email. Can you recall the last 3 emails that you worked on this morning? I certainly can't. And so you can imagine that continuing to double down on communicating to your suppliers and employees via this mechanism can really not be, it's not going to be effective over the long haul. And there's another group called, I believe it's pronounced Radicati, also affiliated with this McKinsey study, came up with this term email apnea, because it's sort of like sleep apnea, where people are holding their breath, which is not healthy. And they have such a negative response to email these days that it actually has a negative health impact. The tool to get more done with less effort to communicate your message is via podcast. Because imagine this, instead of scanning through a quick email through a bunch of business objectives about your vision or a change you're going to make or something new you're rolling out, imagine that your employee is away from their desk. They're not even looking at their phone. Instead, they're listening to you in a much more peaceful and open state of mind, because maybe they're walking the dog, or maybe they're even doing laundry, or they're driving, and they're able to breathe. It's just a much healthier and more engaging experience to listen to you deliver your message rather than read it. Here's another example where the COO accelerates his leadership vision by sharing it. Over 23,000 impressions just on LinkedIn alone. And look at the title of this, Why You Need a Leadership Vision and What It Should Include. So this particular COO communicates his leadership vision to his broader organization, but also it's getting out beyond that. It is attracting new employees to the organization. Suppliers are hearing it. Potential customers are hearing it. And this is much more effective, again, than just sending an email. You might be saying to yourself, Ben, this is all via a podcast? Are you kidding me? Well, a podcast, you might be asking yourself, what is a podcast? Well, a podcast, from a technical standpoint, is a radio or a TV show that's available everywhere for consumption at any time. So they can hear it at their own convenience. I mean, think about the power of this. When they're driving again, when it really makes sense for them to listen, they can tune in to you, and they can do it at any time of day. So you can be sleeping, okay? It doesn't have to be a live town hall. Like you can be sleeping and they can be up listening to your message, or vice versa. Regardless of it, they can share it with their friends, their family. Such a great way to do it. But a podcast is far beyond this. It's a megaphone, okay? It's a megaphone that you can use regularly to get in front of your employees, customers, and suppliers. That's right. It's a megaphone to stand in front of them, no matter where you are in the world. If you're on a plane, if you're on a train, if you're in your office, this podcast can be an effective way to communicate your leadership message. Now, you may be asking yourself where this came from in the first place. And I'd like to just quickly explain my own podcast pivot before we wrap this thing up today. And by the way, at the end of this video, you're going to see a way that you can schedule a quick consultation if you like to. And I'll walk you through our 5-step process to create a great business podcast and what business results that you can expect. But before I get there, it's important to understand this. So during the early phases of the pandemic, where things were locked down, I wasn't able to visit a lot of my customers in person, and they weren't traveling. So I texted a client that I hadn't talked to in a while, a business leader, and I said, hey, let's jump on a call today and catch up. And is it okay if I record it? And fortunately, he said, sure. And I got excited, and we jumped on a call and I recorded it. And we just created a little podcast episode out of that. He was able to share his leadership message in a new and different way. And his team was working remote, his employees, his customers, right? They were all sort of forced into this remote world, and connection and trust became a big issue. So the podcast comes out, and it caught on like wildfire. First of all, his customers were resonating with this, because, man, like, this is a CEO strongly communicating a leadership message that a lot of their competition wasn't taking advantage of. More interestingly, his employees resonated with it. They were saying, hey, it was like you were taking off your leadership armor for a second and just talking to us in a way that was casual, yet bold and powerful. and compelling. And frankly, it was so funny because some of them said, I'm really understanding your leadership vision in a new way than I ever had before. But one of the coolest parts of this whole thing was that employees that had left the company actually left comments on LinkedIn that said, hey, if I would have heard this when I was still at your company, I would probably still be there today, because they really enjoyed hearing a much more human side. And I knew at that moment that I wanted to dedicate a lot of what I was doing and rechannel my background in PR and communications and leadership and casting a strong leadership message and storytelling. I want to take all these ideas and put it into an opportunity to help other leaders spread their message. And that's what this is all about today, is helping you communicate your leadership message and help your company get better business results through a podcast. And so to do that, and I'll put the link below this video, by the way, where you can also schedule a 15-minute consultation with me, or you can scan this with your phone. You can scan this QR code. It'll take you right to my calendar. Set up some time. And again, I'll walk you through my 5-step process to create a business podcast that gets results, as well as I'll be sharing with you what kind of business results that your company should expect. And so that's it for me today. Enjoy. And if you want to, if you're not ready to set up a consultation yet, you can always stick around for the next video.